Hello everyone, welcome to SJ Talks. This is your host Adya. And some people build products, some people build companies, and few people build relationships that help in long term growth. Today's guest, Mr. Sushant Ghosh, has spent nearly 13 years working in the field of business transformation, market expansion, and sale. From working in few of the most well known names in the building materials industries like Larsen and Turbo to currently working in IndieFrame market innovation and market growth, and he has led major change in several areas of South India. So today we shall learn about his journey, his insights on leadership, his experience, and everything he has to share with the audience. So today let's look into his journey. Let's all welcome Mr. Sushant Ghosh.
Yeah, first of all, Adya, thank you very much for having me over here. And let me begin by appreciating SJ Talks, for providing such a beautiful platform to professionals and entrepreneurs like us and lending us a voice. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure having you here. And thank you for describing us the way you described it. It's an extreme pleasure to listen to it from this side as well.
My
So I'm really
privilege.
looking to the podcast we're having today. So before getting into, the professional journey, I just wanted to know, I think childhood plays a very important role in shaping all of us to the people that we become, right? So can we just get a small insight into your childhood, how your life was when you were just a kid?
Yeah, Adya, so I grew up in Bihar, right?
Okay.
My father and mother both were in government job, right? So it was a usual middle class upbringing where there was a lot of emphasis on education, right? So like most people in Bihar where you have a very competitive environment, right? So right from the childhood you are encouraged to be the best in your field. So then after completing my 12th, I moved to Calcutta
Okay.
for my engineering. So I got an opportunity to, join the course of BE in chemical engineering from Jadavpur University, Calcutta.
Okay, that's nice.
Right. So after completing my BE, I joined Siemens Limited as an engineer. Then I moved to Larsen and Toubro. So I have around 5 years of experience in Eastern India, right?
Okay.
Where I worked as an engineer in the supply chain domain. Post my engineering, I thought, I was hitting a glass ceiling, and so I uh, decided to change my career track. I went ahead with MBA
Okay, so you
from a
studied again.
yeah, so from tier
Oh,
one
okay.
from a tier one institute based out of Mumbai. So there I joined their flagship course and completed my MBA with a major in marketing. After my MBA, I was in my MBA when I got a campus offer from Wellspun Group,
Okay.
and they posted me here in Hyderabad as an ASM. And since then, I've been in Hyderabad, and today I'm a proud Hyderabadi. Right?
Okay.
So that is about my journey in a nutshell. So
Okay.
my career in sales and business development started from Wellspun. So I switched, and I've been on the both sides of the wall, right? So earlier I was in the supply chain procurement, dealing with vendors, negotiating orders, and post my MBA I jumped the fence and joined marketing and sales.
Okay. One really interesting point that I noticed is how you shifted your career from engineering, then taking MBA, and then doing marketing all over again. Because sometimes, though people like they know that this field is not for them, they still stick over there because of the comfort zone that they created, right? So you told me you experienced a glass ceiling. So how did you know it was actually time to change? Did you realize you were interested in something else?
See, partly because as I told you, I was preparing for JE, which I wasn't lucky enough to get into any of the IITs, right? So that competitive, you know, intent was always there in me, right? So, and a lot of it is attributed to peer pressure as well, right?
Okay.
So while you have worked for around 4 5 years, you see that's the time when there's a lot of you know societal pressure on you to
Yeah.
marry and settle down, right? And also, I saw a lot of my peers and colleagues and friends going ahead. I mean, to avoid marriage, they,
Okay.
they go for higher studies, right? So it was there where I felt that my prospects were a little limited in engineering. I mean, although engineering is a great profession, but at that point in time, engineering plus MBA was considered to be a very you
Top
know
notch.
a very successful career option,
Okay.
right? So I gave CAT, and while working, and luckily I was able to make it to the institute from where I have passed out. So that's it. And I mean, as I said, there are two particular reasons. One is that societal pressure to settle down, and the other reason is you see your peers and friends taking certain career calls, and you get influenced by that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. So can we, you changed into marketing, right? How was the shift? Was it easy or was it a bit difficult? Was it fascinating?
I would say, it again depends upon one's personality. The 2 year, and also adding to that, the 2 year course which I did was quite rigorous, right?
Okay.
They prepare you thoroughly for marketing. So you have to go through, in the B school environment, you have to uh, go through various case studies. So the mode of education is highly application based, right?
Okay.
And then in a good B school, you have your you know classmates from varied backgrounds and from varied regions of India, right? Where you learn, where you get enormous opportunities to learn. So those 2 years you do numerous amount of presentations, you participate in a lot of case competition, case study competitions, sports, quizzes, right? So I mean, those 2 years literally transformed me as a professional and prepared me well. And having said that, sales is a profession, which is a combination of a lot of attributes. Like, you have to have a strong strategy making skills, you have to be a good problem solver, you also have to have understanding of human interaction, right? And all of us are salespeople in general, so this skill is endowed in all of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we, on day to day basis, negotiate with our spouses, with our parents, with our kids, friends, family, society at large. So at any given point in time, we share ideas, right? And there is always some degree of transaction involved. So I think sales is a career which requires you to be human centric, to be a good decision maker, to be a good a people's person, right?
Okay.
So I thought those attributes were there in me, and so I made this shift. It wasn't, I would not say it was a cakewalk, but yes, I was able to adapt well.
Yeah. Okay. And I love the way you described the way of sales, saying it's universal, because I think I agree with it based on the way you described it right now. Sometimes throughout these projects, you need a lot of patience, and sometimes you often also get rejected, in the project. So, how do you deal with it?
These landmarks have instilled that quality of patience in me, right? Because good things take time in life. So it's important that you deliver, you create value patiently, right? Yes, rejections do happen. I mean, like in any other profession, in sales, you face rejections more often than not, right? But these rejections are a source of learning, right? If you use these rejections as a source of feedback and course correct yourself, then definitely these rejections are not really rejections. Okay, so these rejections become you know, becomes some sort of guardrails for you.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know what not to do in future. So each customer interaction, each project that you venture into, or each market that you know, get into is a learning opportunity.
Okay. So, can you tell me one such learning opportunity of yours that you had from your area of work, let's say through a project or through a mentor or through a leader?
Yes, see, I have been fortunate enough to have worked under really good mentors, right? So some of them today are occupying high echelons, you know, senior positions, the CXO level positions in some of the most well-known companies, right? So I have been lucky to work under them and learn from them. So yes, there have been instances in my career when, you know, I have got opportunities to work on very, you know, unique and challenging projects. So while I joined Wellspun, so they were launching. So Wellspun is a multinational company with presence over 120 countries, right? And they are globally known for textiles, right? So
Okay.
but they were venturing into flooring. So they have set up a factory here in Hyderabad with an initial investment of around 1500 crores, and I was lucky to be amongst the first batch of management recruits straight from my college to have come to Hyderabad and spearheaded their, you know, project in the sales and marketing sector, right? So I, along with my senior peers, was responsible for setting up the brand, establishing the brand in entire AP and Telangana. And am from North India. At that point in time, I wasn't, you know, good. I wasn't quite proficient in Telugu, but still, I mean, because see, language. I mean, the language of sales is universal, right? So I did a fair amount of work in the AP market as well as Telangana, and we established the brand. We came up with more than 40 flagship stores
Oh,
across AP
okay.
and Telangana. So that I would say, you know, right at the, I was lucky to get such a challenging project right at the infancy of my career in
Okay.
sales, and that has paved the way for me, you know, to wherever I have reached today.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a pleasure. That's actually very nice.
right.
Yeah, and also talking about that's such an example of a hardship that taught you something, right? So, can we know such like, were there any point in your professional or personal life where you felt like giving up or, just taking a break?
I would say, you know, by nature, I am a very stubborn person. Okay,
Okay.
like most, I mean, successful sales and marketing folks. So I have never really, at any point in time, you know, thought about giving up. So this is not really me, my character, or that's not how I am built, right? Yes, there have been challenging times. So during those challenging times, I have always looked towards my peers, towards my mentors for direction, right? Because in my personal capacity, in my personal life, I am a great follower of Swami Vivekananda,
Okay.
right? So I am often guided by his quote: arise, awake, and stop not until your goals are achieved. So this has been a guiding principle for me personally.
Okay, that's a very nice principle, and we can see that it shaped you like this. So that's a pleasure again. So now, if you talk about you also lead market expansion, right? So many times you go into unknown areas of markets and go to unknown ecosystems, and you have to adapt accordingly. So what are the first things you notice when you go to such areas, and how do you transform yourself accordingly?
Yes, see, making a foray into a particular market is a strategic decision, right? So there are various frameworks in the consulting parlance which are available to judge whether a market is right or not. I mean, to judge the potential of the market. So I'll not delve too much into in depth of these frameworks, but basically, what at I mean, in a simplistic manner, what I generally do is I try to figure out the market potential based on certain factors. So I try to figure out who is the decision maker, what is the competitive environment over there in that market, who are the major influencers, and the general trend over past few years, and all of this. Right.
Okay, and because you've also worked on market expansion, as I just said, what is one of the most toughest experience you had while you were, doing market expansion?
Well, I would say, the current company in which I am working, Indie Frame, is a startup.
Okay.
So, backed by some of the most well known investors. Just to give you a bit of a context,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
So, it's a startup in the field of fenestration, which is
Okay.
windows and doors, anything which is related to a facade of a building, right? To make it simple for our audience to understand, right? So here, this is generally, startups are known to operate in tech, technology, IT, fintech, in such sectors, right? But in building material construction sector, the startups are not that well known. Okay,
Okay.
generally this domain is dominated by established players, right? So our founders, so they have been uh, they have stellar track records from consulting, from IMs and all, right? And they have raised significant amount of funds, okay, in a sector which is slightly off the radar, okay. And this sector is already dominated by top of the line players, and also you have you know uh, ordinary players. So this is already saturated almost, this sector. But still, like, so that is the reason, this is one of the toughest when I joined indie frame. So this was one of the toughest phase for me to craft a position for my brand and for my company in a very cluttered market, right? But we have been successfully doing that over several years now.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're also partaking in sales, right? What do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about that field of work?
See, the biggest misconception about sales is that sales professionals have to convince someone into buying their product or service. So it's not about convincing. So we and follow a principle called sales by consultation, right? So an ace salesperson never tries to convince his customer. So he tries to understand the need of the customer and the challenges and the problems he is facing, and gives them the right inputs so that the customer can take the best decision, right? And once you become a consultant to a customer by providing him with all the necessary inputs, in helping him solve his problem, in the process you end up selling the product.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So this is, I think, one of the major misconceptions. And ace salespeople or sales professionals, they sell trust. They and also let me point out some of the longest relationships, some of the best relationships in the in the corporate world, which I have cultivated over time, have come through difficult conversations, right? And not through easy conversations, right? So if you have to get through difficult and challenging conversations in this process, you end up making long term
Long term
customers
relations,
also,
yes.
right?
Okay. And just as you said, just talking about relationship building with customers, I think that is also very important in a field like this, so that they can keep approaching you again and again. And another thing is, lots of businesses try establishing themselves right now, and because of which the market has become very competitive, if we look at it like that, right? So how do you think a business can differentiate themselves from like other similarly 10 approaching businesses, like just making a mark in the industry?
So I would say, great companies, like, companies today in which I'm working with. So I can speak for my company, like what we are doing. So we are obsessed with innovation and technology, right? So things like, artificial intelligence. So rather than seeing these, technological advancements as a challenge, we try to leverage this technology in order to make, our approach more effective and efficient. Okay, so the first point would be to imbibe and embrace technology. That would be the first point. Secondly, so each and every part of our policy is centered around customer. So the customer is at the center of our decision making, right? Anything or everything that we do is designed to empower our customers. So customer service is a big component of our policy making. At the same time, while doing all this, we also ensure that, the business is financially viable. Okay, so technology, customer centricity, and
And financial
financial viability
viability.
are the three key mantras which we follow here.
Okay, and that is some advice that you would give to the people starting out right now as well, right?
Yeah, of course. To any budding sales professional or an experienced sales guru, my bit of suggestion would be that customer has to be the focal point of all decision making.
Okay, and you just gave an advice, but can we also know certain struggles that you faced as a startup that you were working in?
Yes. So as I told, we are operating in a space which is highly cluttered, and so what we have done is we have differentiated ourselves by adopting technology. So today, just to help you understand with an example, so our prime products are doors and windows. Okay, so if you look at Hyderabad market today, so in the last 5 years or so, suddenly Hyderabad has become, a den of high rises, right? So doors and windows which used to be designed earlier were meant for generally low rises up to 5 floors, 7 floors. But overnight, like in a very short span of time, now you have high rises ranging from anywhere between 25 floors to 60 plus floors. So the components, because of the high level of wind intensity, and there are other factors which have to be factored in. There are other uh, things like wind pressure at such an height. The even the intensity of rain is quite high. Okay, the storm and everything gets amplified a lot. So you have to design a solution which can withstand such harsh forces of nature. So this is just one example I am telling. So we have introduced SOPs which talks about how we ensure a product which meets the customer's requirements completely. So we are giving, or we are designing a solution which is going to last for more than, say, for your lifetime. Of course, I mean, for that, that is how our horizon is, the timeline or the horizon for which we design our product in terms of durability is over 40 years, right? So this is one of the differentiator, right? At the same time, the greatest pain point for the developers today is the execution, right? So there are very few players in India who can manage such scale, because if you see for a high rise 45 floors, the amount of material which goes into making window, and and it's a highly, doors and windows are highly, I mean, at least here in Hyderabad, not just in Hyderabad, in India, it's a highly customized product. So each door or window is
It's
made for
different.
that particular aperture only. Okay, so customization at scale is still, a lot of companies have not been able to crack.
Okay.
Implemented certain tech, platforms, like we have our internal platform, okay, which helps where we provide login ID and password to the customers, and they can monitor the entire project right from survey till the delivery stage, which is unheard of in this market and which sets us apart. Because in our organization we have, people mostly from elite colleges, IITs and IIMs, okay, who are working on those solutions, right? So that is how, we have uh, been able to remain ahead of the curve.
Okay. And apart from sales and market expansion, just based on a recent conversation, I got to know that you also work on content creation, putting out content in YouTube, right? So, can I just get a small gist into how you got into that area of creative work?
Yes, like as I said, I am a very curious person, right? And I'm coming from marketing and sales background. While I was starting my career, so YouTube was not as big. Okay, and slowly we saw transition from from the cables TV to YouTube. Okay, in terms of consumption as well, right? So I personally enjoy podcasts because some of the biggest and the most successful influencers today are good podcasters. So I got inspired from them, and I thought, why not, positively contribute in ways in which I can. So that was the motivation behind starting my channel, Astute Observer. So please, I would request the audience to please like, subscribe, and share Astute Observer.
Yes, please do.
Hmm.
Yes, sir. And can we know the kind of content that you put out?
So generally, my content is uh, designed towards anyone who is seeking knowledge. So the tagline of my channel is knowledge is purity, right? So mostly the structure of my channel is such that I put out one book review, because I am an avid reader myself. I read a lot of books, so I in my free time. So I thought, why not, share that knowledge with the wider audience. So I generally come up with one book review a month. Then I pick up topics which are trending, like one of the topics on which I made a program was on the leadership skills learned from IPL. So few months back, IPL was the top trending topic, right? So that is how, I mean, like, whatever I see around, if something, again there was, after that, I think few weeks back, there was a lot of talk about layoffs due to artificial intelligence, taking away the jobs. So I touched upon that topic as well, and I have come up with solutions of how to keep yourself layoff proof. Okay, so these are the topics which generally resonate with, the youth of today, and even seniors as well in our society. I make those.
Okay. And right now, like, you have been putting out content, right? Like, one advice that we usually get during content creation is consistency is the key. So, what advice would you give to any budding content creator or a person who's trying to pursue YouTube creation?
Uh, yes, so my advice to the budding YouTubers would be consistent, keep working, and please do not be distracted by, there's a lot of stuff floating around on YouTube. Okay, please keep things simple. Find a niche for yourself, and keep making good content. So ultimately, you know, good content is what gets rewarded, and keep doing it until you achieve your desired number of subscribers. And it should not be done purely from the motive of only gaining subscribers, or the monetary motive, right? It should be done with a larger purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say for example, if you are if you are into sports, make contents which encourages our young generation to take up various facets of sports. Or if you are into education, make content which helps the content consumers
In the
in
educational
terms of
fields.
getting educated on a certain topic, right?
Yeah, and so right now we've seen the amount of things that you do. You started from engineering, you took an MBA, then you went towards sales and market expansion, and also you're pursuing YouTube. So that's a completely new spectrum of journey that we're seeing, right? So throughout your journey, how do you think you have grown as a person and evolved, both in your personal and professional life?
Yeah. So see, why I mean, early in my career, I realized that growth is not growth doesn't come easy, right? So you have to be consistent. You have to have never say die attitude. And you once you realize, I mean, once you are in the industry, and if you have worked for like I mean, for 5 years, 7 years, whatever it may be, you understand, from the bottom of your heart, what are your key strengths, and what gives you satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I realized that I was a person who liked to interact with customers, with vendors, with internal stakeholders, with external stakeholders, all kind of people, right? Either I was, I mean, see, one of the key attributes of a ace salesperson is articulation, right? So one has to be good in articulating the value proposition, right? So this is something which stuck with me.
Okay.
Okay. And so, apart from my occupation, which I do like for 6 days a week, and if ever I get some free time, I try to experiment with YouTube, which
Okay.
I think not only refreshes me, but also you know uh, keeps my artistic pursuits
Abilities,
alive,
yeah, alive.
right?
Yeah. So, we spoke about your journey in the past, what you're doing right now. So, as a final set of question, can we know your insights into the future?
Yeah, see, future will increasingly belong to those who can learn things, unlearn things, and relearn things.
Okay, learn, unlearn,
Learn,
relearn.
unlearn, and relearn,
Okay.
right? So now, these days, the buzzword which we hear around, artificial intelligence. So there are, so future is again artificial. This is something which we had never thought of. There was a similar situation which came to the fore, I think, during the 90s when internet came into the picture,
Yeah.
around early 2000s. Prior to that, there were similar fears, when the computer came into the picture. So everyone thought that, okay, so this is going to be the end of the world, and they are going, all the jobs are going to be taken away by computers, by internet. So similarly, AI is a point of inflection, right? So if harnessed properly, it can make institutions, individuals infinitely efficient and effective. I personally use AI like to a great extent in designing my YouTube content. I take help. So the work which would take me is probably a month or so gets done in within a matter of hours. So that is how the future is going to be. So adapting and adopting technology is going to be key for existence in future. At the same time, it's important to keep that human to human interaction alive,
Alive.
because technology is meant to assist human beings, not to replace them.
Yeah. I love the statement technology is meant to assist human beings but not to replace them, because human connection is really important. So, till
Yeah.
now, we had a lot of questions. So, we'll just do a very fun rapid fire segment where I'll be just asking questions and you just have to answer with the first thing that comes in your mind. Sales or content creation?
Sales.
Okay, what's your favorite food?
Mm, because yeah, rice and dal.
Okay,
Rice and dal
your
is,
favorite book because you read a lot.
yeah. So the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Yeah.
Okay, mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Okay, Saturdays or Fridays?
For me, Sunday works because
Oh, okay.
because I have 6 days working.
Okay, what are your hobbies?
Like I said, I mean, apart from my work, I do content creation on YouTube, and then I read books.
Okay, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay, tea person, I see. Okay, that's it, sir. Thank you so much for your knowledge, as well as, the rapid fire question that happened in the end. It was a very fun segment and I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience also learned a lot because we covered a lots of topics also as well. So that's it for today's podcast. So, guys, that's it for today's podcast. For more such podcasts, do like, share, and subscribe to SJ Talks. Thank you. Bye bye. We are saying this during this podcast because it truly makes a difference. So many of you people have been watching SJ Talks, which we are very, very grateful for, but so many of you haven't subscribed yet. And in this episode or in any of our previous episodes, if any piece of content connected to you made you think differently, offered you a different perspective, or maybe, even just kept you entertained, please do support us, because behind every piece of content that we create, every piece of information that we put out, or every story of people we share, there's a huge team of hardworking people with extreme passion, dedication, working towards giving you or providing you with this goal. So, we would really appreciate if you could like, share, and subscribe to our channel so we can put out more such content. And for all those people who have been part of this journey with us already, thank you so much. And for those people who are going to come in right now, welcome to SJ Talks family.